G'day, welcome back to the build series. Episode 10, just we're flying through the episodes, aren't we? Progress is okay. Could probably speed things up a bit. It's certainly slowed a lot since I've only started working on the build on weekends. Did a bit of a to-do list last night of what I need to get done before I take it to the registration office and get my number plates. And it scared me a bit. I didn't sleep real well, recognising what I have to get done. So I then went and got the list and crossed out things that don't absolutely need to be done ahead of registration, because there's a few items that I can leave off, like just some internal wiring, lights and things that don't absolutely need to be finished. Panels were ordered in the last couple of weeks for the outside walls, so there'll be a few weeks off. So I really need to get cracking and finish this internal layout and setup ahead of that. So this episode we'll be doing internal plumbing. So I've got a hot water system to put in, all the pumps I've got a couple of pumps, got to connect them up to the tanks, got to connect them up to all the outlets that they feed. So there'll be a bit of work in the ensuite, bit of work in the kitchen, well, actually a lot of work in the kitchen. I've got to build that bed frame. I think I've been promising that for a couple of episodes now, but I think I'll finally get it done this episode. I made a decision to wait on that because it would just get in the way, so it'll be the last thing to go on. Yeah, I think that's about it. I do need to crack on though, because these intro videos take me about 45 cuts to get right, and I think I'm up to about 50 now. So let's just pull the pin. I'm burning daylight hours. Let's just get on with it, hey? Cheers. So I'll quickly run you through the water heater that I've selected for the build. It's an Aqueous 6 litre 12 volt made by Ozj, Australian company. That's Jay King, the man on the box. It's only a little unit. It's pretty much perfect for what I need. It's 12 volts. I don't have to switch the inverter on to get it going. It's pretty basic. It's water in, hot water out. It's got a pressure relief valve on the outlet as well, and it's got a dial on the front to change temperature. Very simple. It runs 160 watt at 12 volts, which is nothing. I'll test it out once we get the thing up and running and all the Victron gear in. I'll turn it on and see what it does pull, and I'll show you all that in later episodes. But pretty efficient from what I understand. Weighs about 6 kilos empty, so 12 kilos full, which is nothing in the context of this build, which is good as well. It's only about 300 mil square, so it's a cube shape, 300 mil by 300 mil by 300 mil, a bit over that, but pretty close. So it'll tuck in under my storage area over there behind the ensuite. Just about to mount the water heater. I wanted to make sure that I've got clearance for all this gear that's going in. I've got the fill and breather line for a tank and another one here. They're both going to go in that fashion there. So they'll be on the outside walls. There'll be one there and one there. There's an outdoor shower that's got to go here. So I need to allow room across this area here for piping that's going to come through to that, and also through into the shower inside. This is the waistline for the ensuite basin, which I'll talk about later on when I fit it off on the other side. Just had to drill that hole through there. Pretty scary penetration, that one, because hard to undo a screw up. But that worked out all right. And so I'm thinking the water heater's going to go down a bit lower. I had anticipated it up high, but I'm probably going to need space up here. I'm going to mount the water heater upside down, which you're allowed to do. I'm going to run the pipe from the tank, will come from the pumps, which are over here. It'll come up through the wall there, come up on this side of the wall, somewhere over there. Cruise along the top of that shelving unit. The bed frame will go along there, the steel bed frame that's going to hold the bed up. So there'll be about 40-50 mil gap there that I can run the pipes off along that wall, bring them along here. So I've got to run cold water over into the hot water, tee off that cold water for other cold water things here, including over to here where that tap is for the outside cold water. And then water heater, hot water obviously come out and feed all the ensuite stuff, outdoor shower here, and then hot water's got to run back to the kitchen sink over there as well. So there's a bit of thought needs to go into this. So just setting everything out and drawing everything where it needs to go, and then we'll hook in and start fitting it off. time to get on with some pump installation. So there's the ones I have chosen. It's the Seaflow RV Supreme. They're 55 psi, 9.5 litres per minute is the flow. They've got strainers on the inlet side to pick up any muck out of the tanks, and then that's the outlet, so the flow goes through the pump in that direction. Get into it. Looking pretty good, pretty happy with how that's turned out. Just screwed them to the floor. These are rubber feet, it says not to screw them down too hard, so I just left them firm but not over tight. I think that's for an acoustic brake situation. That's what it's meant to achieve. See how we go with that. Front one is the main supply for the Ensuite and also the kitchen sink, so that's fully connected now. That runs off the shark bite. I've just connected it there on a BSP threaded fitting. Comes through mesh filter, through the pump, out the other side. I need to tee into this to pick up the kitchen sink. Also need to put a check valve in here because I'm going to pressurise the system from the other side occasionally, which I will talk you through when I fit that off. But yeah, there'll be mains water pressure coming back this way, and the pump instructions say not to pressurise the pressure side of the pump because it can damage it. So I need a check valve. I need to figure out what that is and where I'm going to get it from. Then that's pretty much done. That's looking good, so it heads over to the Ensuite. I still need to plumb that in, but I haven't got the fittings for that, so we'll do that when they turn up. Filtered water, so this will go to the 45 litre tank in the middle of the caravan. I've got to connect it off to that shark bite. Don't have the fittings to replicate what I've done there, so I'll do that later when they turn up. Through the mesh filter, out the other side, and then this line will just connect off to the filtered water tap. So it's a dedicated tap that's just going to be for filtered water. I do need to put the filter in though, so I've got a filter set up, which will be the next thing I'll do. I'll get onto that and see if I've got the right fittings to be able to make that work. So this is the filtration system I'm running with. I did a lot of research online to try and figure this out, and by hands down this is easily the best system I've found. The company's Thirsty Nomad, Australian company. This is Australian design. It's a two-part system. There's a pre-treatment, so this one you click onto your hose before you fill your tanks. It's cleans up your bore water, so the heavily mineralised bore water in Central Australia can clog up your pumps and everything else, and any sediment that might come through in that system as well. This knocks it out, so 5 micron pre-filter there. And then this is the main filter that comes off your pump. You're meant to put this as close as you can to the actual outlet. So it works on quantum disinfection, so it actually kills bacteria and viruses. As they go through, they're actually destroyed, not just filtered. So that's why it's a purification system. So Thirsty Nomad came on board and supplied me with this gear, which was really nice of them. We'll get on to just hooking up now. That couldn't have been simpler. Everything was that straightforward. So she's in there now. Just got it fitted off here. These are screwed to the floor. That clips in. You can pull it back out again. And just the short run there, down in, just clicked in. These are all hand tightened. You meant to do it by hand because you can split the housing with a brass if you do them up too tight. And it just comes out into a T here. That's a flexible T. It rotates, so it's free. It moves a bit freely. Late change. Decided to go with a 1/4 inch pipe instead of the 12mm out of the end of my filter, so that both those sort of fittings were supplied. That was the old 12mm one I took off and replaced it with the 1/4 inch. The tap I bought just now at Bunnings has this gear already set up on it, so it's just click and connect, which is a lot simpler than trying to reduce and increase sizing. So yeah, just go with that. Next job on the agenda, to mount the little basin that I bought. It's a little plastic acrylic thing. It's pretty rubbish, if I'm honest. It wasn't cheap. It was a couple $100. I like how it hides all the plumbing in behind. It's meant to mount in a corner like that. It looks neat, but it's warped and it's got marks on it, and I didn't take it out of the box after I bought it, and it's a 30-day return policy with the company that supplied it, which is very frustrating. But anyway, I bodged up. You can see there in the bottom, it's a pop-up waste into a black BSP reducer into a hose barb threaded. That fits onto my purple. I've got to drill a hole in the top here where I'm going to put the mixer in that I bought yesterday from Bunnings, and then somehow get it to attach to the wall. See what happens, I guess. Got it on. It's reasonably successful. I was thinking about making it a temporary mount that I could take it off and access all the stuff inside, but there's no way that was going to work. So we went heaps of Sikaflex and the industrial grade one, and a few screws and a bracket. And so I've come in from that side, so I can access those screws if I ever need to take it off. I guess I could undo those and then pull it off. Don't think I'll ever want to do that, but I could. The other option, which is preferred option, I don't even have to do it now, but I can cut a hole, access hole in there that I can get into from the storage area, make it like a little hatch. I run terracing along there when I put the outside wall on, so that'll obviously give it strength in that corner, and then I'll caulk all the edges as they fit against each of the walls. I've got to let that set and then somehow figure out how I'm going to pull the bottom in, because it needs to go back into the wall as well, but I want that all permanent before I start jiggling. So yeah, we'll fit that off once it's set. We'll put the braided hoses onto the back of the mixer and poke them through the wall to join into the plumbing as well, and we're ready to roll. After another successful mission to Bunnings where I bought thousands of things I don't need, I did get this, which I really have always wanted but never really had justification for it. Not cheap. Yeah, it's a riveting set, so I don't know if people are familiar with that, but you drill a hole, then you put the rivet in, and then you use this tool and it squeezes the rivet in, and you end up with a thread in the metal or whatever you've mounted it in. There's a few places I will need that, including this box. It's got these nuts, bolts on the front already, bolts here. Unfortunately, these ones are covered when it's mounted and I can't access them, so I need to move those bolts across to further down the face so I can undo them and remove that cover. So it's going to be mounted up in here. I think I've explained before, this is a bit of a mistake. When I designed it, I just imagined in my head when I was drawing it that was going to protrude out underneath the bed base, but it's on display for everyone to see, so I've got to work out a cover plate for that. Now that I've made that mistake and it's all in place and has to be patched, I have to use that box because that box goes there. I have since discovered, after standing all this up, there is a smaller version of that box which would have just fitted in there without any of these problems. Such is life. I'm going to make it work. So yeah, when that's inside, these are covered, so I'm going to have to move them along to here. So I'm going to attempt to use this machine to do this job. See how we go. So I got them done. A few failed attempts. Had to get on YouTube and figure out how to assemble this tool properly. I didn't follow any instructions, just thought it'd be straightforward, but it wasn't, as per usual. So anyway, got them in. There's one there. I split the Anderson plugs so that you can get those to slide in still. Another one over there. So these are redundant now, these two holes. It's a good setup now because you take these ones out and those ones out, and the way it's mounted in the van, this opens like that quite neatly, which is where my access point is, so I can then get into the inside and access all the fuses and wiring that's in there whilst it's mounted on the wall, which is what I wanted. So that's good. Another job done. Finally getting onto that steel bed frame that I've been talking about for episodes now. So got to cut up a bit of blue steel, set it out, try and get it as square and true as I possibly can. And I won't glue it in today. I'm just going to get it all built, probably paint it and just have it off to the side because it'll get in the way of a few things. But yeah, it's a bit of work in it, and then trying to get it square and level and not making it too big. I'm actually going to make it too small by 5mm everywhere because too small's okay. I can fill that with Sikaflex when I glue it in. Too big's bad because I can't get the outside walls of the van on. So yeah, I've got to be careful about this and really measure everything 100 times to make sure it doesn't end up 3mm too big and cause me problems later on. So that's the plan. I'll jump into it. Bit of progress, got that welded up, ground back, cleaned up, started painting it, realised that was a silly idea. Put that section in, have to do a little bit more welding, so I stopped painting. I put that little section in there, That's just going to create part of a frame that goes in here. When you jump up into the bed, all the weight is going to be on that point there, so I want to have that fairly strong. So I'm basically going to put a frame in that supports all the way down to the floor there, that section. That frame then will also become a mounting point for the panel, so the 12-volt panel with all the gear on it, and Victron gear and everything will go on there. So it'll double up as a frame for that, but also as a bit of support for the bed. Yeah, we'll get on to building this little Victron panel mount support leg structure, and then I'll get it all painted and see whether I stand it up or not. That's the bed frame done, and the 12-volt mount frame as well. Obviously, as I said earlier, that provides support for the bed frame. It's going to go like that and sit in there. I've got a bit of ply now that I've got to cut to this shape. I'm going to bring it past the edge of this and then drill some holes in it. I've got 5 mount points. So those rivets you saw me put in earlier in the video. So they're all ready to roll, M6 bolts. I went and got some stainless bolts for that last night. So I'm going to cut the ply, sit it on here while I've got it down, mark the holes from behind, get those holes drilled, get the board painted. Mental note for future reference, don't leave the control panel, 12-volt control panel out under the walnut tree overnight to dry. Reckon it's going to be one of those days. Just realised the old 40mm trick occurred. I've mounted the panel mount on the bottom of this when it should have been at the top, aligned with it. So we had a 40mm height issue, which is being rectified with angle grinders. No one will ever know. Just shifted it from there down to there. Simples. Knocking over the jobs. That's the bed frame in. It's just sitting there. It's not fitted, glued or screwed or anything. I'll just leave that loose in case I need to take it out, which I probably will. I'll need to move it to put glue in behind it, that's for sure. Panel's done, fixed off. After I moved that frame up, actually it came up. Now it's flush with the top, which was the 40mm miscalc on my behalf. So yeah, that's all looking pretty good. I also finished that. Back of that, I just finished that off, which I don't know if I videoed. So that's now done as well and all complete. And a little hidey hole there for the battery to go in, and probably the compressor. Smashing through the jobs. Need to get some more done today. Might move into the pantry area. Thought I'd finish off the day just trying to get a bit of work done in the pantry area. It's not a critical item, but it's one that's going to be easier done with the access I've got right now before I put the walls on, so I thought I'd get it done. I originally had this Pure Light panels CNC cut to make shelves out of, but it's way too heavy for what I need, and every single shelf would need a bracket similar to that. And I don't actually know how big I want the shelves, how far apart I want them at this stage, because I'm not sure what I'm going to pack them with, tubs or canvas bags with clear tops. I'm not really sure yet, so I want some flexibility in the design. So I found this at Bunnings, this rail stuff that you screw to the wall, and it's got these brackets that clip in, lock into it. And I'll just put 2 rails, one there and one there. And then I've got 6 of these brackets, which accommodate 3 of these shelves, and then I can move them up and down wherever I want them later on. These are designed to be stationary in a cupboard, not in a caravan, which is going up and down. So I'm just not sure. The weight will be down on them most of the time, but when you go over a bump, it might try and jump up. And I'm just not sure of the strength of that once it's in place to accommodate the bumps, but it's pretty easy to get out, pretty easy to fix later on. I think we'll just put it on and see what it looks like and see how it handles it. It's in. Not sure I love it. It's a bit flimsy. Haven't fitted it off properly yet because I'm still undecided whether it's going to remain in the build. But anyway, it's in now. I'll probably do for a while, and then I'll rip it out and replace it with something better later on. Time to crank on with the plumbing now. I've got the rest of the gear just turned up in the mail a couple of days ago, so knock that over today hopefully. Some other gear's turned up as well, pretty exciting. That box there is full of solar panels. So I've got 3 flexi panels. I think they're 310, maybe a bit more watt each, so about 1,000 watts on the roof at the end of the day. And also this baby turned up. Woo! That's 490 amps of lithium goodness. So I'll talk more about that later on, but we'll get on with this plumbing and try and get it knocked over. That's the plumbing pretty much roughed in. I had to make a few late changes over in this area here to simplify it, because I'm going to put a 240 volt shore power inlet over here. According to Sparky yesterday, it's probably the best place for it, which means I couldn't have an outdoor shower there, which is what I'd planned to do. So I had to move the outdoor shower, which meant this was getting way too complicated in here anyway. There's lots of crossing over and so on to try and make it work. So I'm pretty happy to get that out of the way now. So all I've got is ensuite basin, hot and cold, shower, hot and cold, ensuite shower, hot and cold. I put a check valve in. Here's the other thing I've changed since I videoed this last time, which is just to stop the mixing effect through the hot water system. So it just allows water to go into the unit and not back out again, which is potentially can happen, I think. So not my best work there. It got a bit messy because of all the changes I made late. It's very functional, just not that attractive, sort of like me, I guess. Anyway, so that runs over now from there, down, tees down, penetrates through and goes into the kitchen area, which I'll talk about later. So as I said, I've teed off that. I'm going to run those pipes across here and put an outdoor shower on over here now. Also going to tee off that outdoor shower and run it down through the floor here underneath and pick up one of those taps. That'll be the pressure point, so I can click onto that with town water, and it should back pressure everything and create pressurized system within the van, which is good, but it also serves as an outlet that I can, when I don't plug into it, it can be an outlet just for cold water down there to fill buckets and wash things, which will be useful. Thought I'd run through the shower. I needed 2 hands to do it, so I put you on the tripod. It's a OzJ Easy RV exterior shower set. It's from OzJ, which is the same brand as the same manufacturer as the hot water unit. So it's got an exterior wall mount in the box. Goes on the outside of the van. You can see it's got the plug-in point there. That cover plate that fixes over the top. On the rear of that, you just got hot and cold into it for flow, obviously. It's got a hose and shower head. Shower head's just got a click button, turn on or off setup. And the other end of that, it's a mixer, but it's also a plug-in point for the wall plate. So it just goes in like that, boom, and then you just rotate to get pressure and rotate to get hot water as well. So pretty simplistic setup. I liked it that much that I asked whether I could get another one of these the brass backing system, so I could actually use the spare cover plate in the main shower area. And lo and behold, they've actually just developed one. I don't think it's for sale yet. It might be by the time this video lands in YouTube, but they've just developed one that doesn't have a cover plate set up, so it's meant for indoor, I think, use. So that'll go inside my ensuite. This will be plugged into it semi-permanently. When I want to use the shower outside, I'll just unplug it and take this outside and plug it into the exterior one. It also comes standard with a suction cup mount for the shower head, shower rose. It'll be stored inside the van and just come out here when I need to use the exterior shower. And it's got a permanent one as well that I can just put in the main ensuite. So I've got 2, which is fantastic. It also comes with a mesh bag just to store this in if you were intending to only use it as an exterior shower. So you can put it away. It's got to go and cut a 65 or 60 mil hole in the shower wall, which I've been putting off for a few weeks now, but I better get into it and try not to screw it up. So I got all the plumbing roughed in on this side of the kitchen, so that's just the hot water through, and I just teed into the cold water and fitted off the hot water onto a mixer that's going to go in the kitchen eventually. I've just got it sitting there obviously now just to see if it's watertight. I ran out of pipe, which is I haven't got enough to get across to where I'm going to put the outdoor shower, and then also the cold's got to go down and through the floor, as I explained earlier, across to that tap. So what I'm doing until the pipe turns up is just pressure testing. I've got a hose fitting here. I'll just go and get the hose from the garden and bring it in and click it off there and pressurize the whole line and see what happens. See if any pop or leak. Give it a good test. She sprung a few leaks, as you can tell by water on the floor. Good to pressure test before you make these things live. Glad there's no wood in my build at all. A couple of these weren't pushed in, so I had to pop those in. I hadn't put a rubber grommet in there. I hadn't put a rubber grommet in the fitting there. They'd fallen out and I didn't realise. That one over there hadn't been pushed in, so she sprayed. That one down there hadn't been pushed in, so she sprayed. But all the rest, tight as. Had running water there. Woohoo! Which is good. That drains, doesn't leak as well. Don't mind why that's still got pressure, because I've turned the tap off, but anyway, must have pressurised the system. All good. And there she is running out of the grey water down into that bucket. So the plumbing takes a lot longer than you'd expect. Unfortunately, we've used up all the time in the episode now, so I'm going to call it a day there. Make sure you jump on and subscribe if you haven't already. check me out on Instagram as well, perpetual.transient. Yeah, next episode I'm going to be picking up panels from the panel shop for the outside walls. So I'll show you a bit of that, hopefully. Might even be standing them up. Not sure, there's still a fair bit to do inside before I get to that. So it'll probably be another episode of internal fitting out. A bit of wiring, a bit more plumbing. Kitchen's got to be finished, bed's got to be put in, bed frame's got to be glued off. Yeah, so it'll be a bit to get through before walls are stood up, but stay tuned nonetheless. It'll be along pretty soon. Cheerio.